Today I'm going to go over key strategies to help you ace your medical school interview. First off, if you've received an interview invitation, congratulations. A medical school interview invitation validates all of the hard work you put in throughout college to complete your medical school requirements, ace the MCAT, and gain the necessary extracurricular experiences. So what's the best way to prepare? I'm Dr. Chirag Shemasian, medical school admissions expert and founder of Shemasian Academic Consulting. In this video, I'm going to share key preparation strategies so you can impress admissions committees on interview day. And towards the end of the video, I'll share some bonus psychology tips that you can use to get accepted to your dream school. Let's get started. It's important to understand why medical schools interview you so you can present yourself in a way that's consistent with what they're looking for in applicants. Medical schools learn a lot about you from your application. Your GPA and MCAT scores are indicators of academic readiness. Your personal statement details your reasons for wanting to become a physician. Your research and clinical experiences demonstrate your understanding of what being a physician entails, and your secondary essays communicate your fit with a particular school. So, what else is left for them to figure out? Medical schools interview candidates primarily to ensure that they have good interpersonal skills. After all, medicine is not a job performed in isolation. Doctors need to interact with patients, families, colleagues, and hospital staff on a routine basis to deliver care. So for medical schools, the interview is the best way to assess whether you have the requisite skills. This means that what you say during your interview is important, but how you say it matters just as much, if not more. Make sure that you prepare for interview day by studying every detail of your AMCAS application. Be prepared to talk in depth about the various experiences you've listed. Then, review each school's website and be on the lookout for certain themes. Do they emphasize research funding and accolades? Is part of their mission statement dedicated to serving a specific patient population? Keep the school's unique aspects in mind as you converse with your interviewer. You can circle back to them to emphasize your fit with the school when talking about your experiences and interests. Also, if a school provides you with the names of the people you'll be interviewing with, be sure to look them up online and get familiar with their research and clinical interests. As one of my favorite authors, Dale Carnegie, once said, being genuinely curious about others is a great way to get people to like you. You'll want to practice some responses to common questions with someone who is knowledgeable about the admissions process. Some examples of good mock interview partners are a pre-med advisor, your school's pre-med committee, a friend who has had success with the med school admissions process, or a medical school admissions consultant. Also, practicing under conditions that replicate those of the actual interview experience will help you better prepare for interview day. But be sure not to practice too much. You want your interview to resemble a conversation, not a series of robotic answers to question prompts. How do you answer the question, "Tell me about yourself"? Many students believe they should immediately begin discussing experiences related to medicine when asked this question. However, the best way to respond to this question is to describe your background first and then transition to medically relevant experiences. That way, you'll come across as a real person and not just another medical school applicant. Here's an example of an effective response to this question. I was born in Seattle, but grew up in Tempe, Arizona. My father was a high school chemistry teacher, so I've always had an interest in science and even considered a career in teaching. But instead of following in his footsteps, I started volunteering at the local hospital at the urging of my high school mentor. Here, the applicant would transition to their desire to pursue medicine as a career, but only after sharing some personal details that lend to the interviewer's understanding of the applicant's journey. How to answer the why medicine question. Understand that most people who aspire to become doctors A, want to help people, and B, enjoy the sciences and its application to clinical medicine. Many students fear that by mentioning these things to interviewers, they'll sound cliche. However, this is what medicine is all about, the application of science to help people who are suffering from disease. The best way to handle this question is to respond honestly and supplement your answer with information about the experiences you discussed in your personal statement. How to answer the question, why you want to attend this school, or the why us question. A pitfall to avoid when responding to this question is complimenting the school in a general way. For example, talking about the great reputation of the hospital or how the school is focused on producing innovative research. Instead, you want to communicate a mutual fit, just as you did in your secondary essays. What are your specific interests and how do they align with what the school has to offer? And most importantly, how are you going to make an impact while you're there? Here's a sample response. Attending VCU has always been a dream of mine since I'm a Virginia native, but I'm especially attracted to your mission to deliver high-quality care to underserved populations. I grew up in a poor single-parent household just 20 minutes away from Richmond, so serving low-income communities is something that's personally meaningful to me and has been a top priority for me as an undergraduate. If admitted, I plan to apply for the I2CRP program so I can gain clinical experience early on and prepare myself for a career as a primary care physician treating Virginia's underserved communities. At the end of the interview, you'll have a chance to ask your interviewer questions. Make sure your questions about the school can't be answered by doing a quick search online, and try to make them open-ended. And for extra brownie points, ask your interviewer for advice on what it takes to have a successful first year as a medical student. For example, you could ask, what advice do you have for a first-year medical student that wants to balance school with research pursuits? Trust me, interviewers love it when students solicit their advice. Thank your interviewer. You should plan to send a thank you note to each of your interviewers, including medical students, within 48 hours of meeting them. And the good news is that sending an email is a perfectly appropriate way to do so. Here's a sample medical school interview thank you email. Dear Dr. Wu, I want to thank you once more for taking the time to interview me for admission to Weill Cornell Medical School on Tuesday. Throughout my interview day, I was impressed with the emphasis on collaborative research, which aligns with my goal to publish more research on the link between cardiovascular disease and diabetes. In addition, I appreciate your candid advice about balancing school with research pursuits. My already strong interest in Cornell was only confirmed by the interview day, and I would be honored to attend there. If you would like any other information from me, please reach me by phone at 310-555-5555 or email at shirag@ucla.edu. Otherwise, I look forward to hearing your decision. Sincerely, Shirag Shamasian. Now, let's go over some bonus psychology tips for interview day. What to wear. The von Restorff effect. Being memorable in a good way on interview day can be difficult. Medical schools interview hundreds of applicants, so why not wear a piece of clothing that gets you noticed? The von Restorff effect, also known as the isolation effect, predicts that anything or anyone that stands out is more likely to be remembered. So how about donning a green tie or striped blue dress socks? This doesn't mean you need to wear a polka dot blazer. You should still wear appropriate formal interview attire. But don't be afraid to incorporate a touch of flair in your interview outfit. The halo effect. Smiling and having good posture are simple ways to leave a good impression on everyone you encounter during your interview. But why is this so effective? The answer lies in the halo effect, a type of cognitive bias in which your overall impression influences your appraisal of their personal qualities. For example, many studies have shown that people tend to rate attractive people as being more intelligent, funny, and well-spoken. So leaving a good impression on one person can also create a domino effect. After the interview is over, admissions officers will meet behind the scenes to share their feedback about you with each other. If one person has great things to say about you, you can bet that their positive appraisal has the potential to influence others. Mirroring. If a close friend told you they won a special award, would you quietly congratulate them with a somber expression on your face? No! To help them feel validated and understood, you'd probably exclaim excitedly and smile to express your delight. If your interviewer shows enthusiasm about a particular aspect of the school, be sure to respond enthusiastically. If their demeanor appears to be more quiet and reserved, you should also project a calm energy. The need to feel understood and accepted is a fundamental human desire. If you can successfully make your interviewer feel like you understand exactly where they're coming from, they'll be more likely to recommend you for admission. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. And if you'd like to learn more about the med school admissions process, including a whole section on how to develop a school list that maximizes your admissions odds, click the link in the description to get my free comprehensive guide, How to Get into Medical School. The strategies in the guide are the same ones my team and I use to routinely help students get into schools like Johns Hopkins, Mayo, and UCSF. All right, thanks for watching. See you next time.